Which is the graph of the given function? 4 sine negative 3t. Okay, so sine function. Well, first I check the amplitude. I see this 4 in front. That tells me that the amplitude is 4. So I'm looking, do these graphs go up 4 and down 4? Well, guess what? They all go up 4 and down 4. They all have an amplitude of 4. So that didn't help me. So now I move on to this little negative sign right here. That negative sign tells me that there is a reflection over the y-axis. Reflection over y-axis. Okay, so let's remember what the sine function normally would look like. Normally it starts at the midline and it goes up and down and back to the midline like this. So if I take this and I reflect it over the y-axis, okay, in fact, you know what, let me continue this. So on the left side it would go down and up like this. Okay, so if I take this graph and I reflect it over the y-axis, okay, if I just turn it around backwards, that means that instead of going up and then down, it will actually go down and then up. Okay, and then it would be the same thing on this side. So the green graph is how it would look if I reflected this over the y-axis. So that will help me narrow this down a little bit. So I'm looking for the graph that instead of going up to the right of the y-axis, it goes down. Okay, so let's see. Option A goes down and then back up, so that's possible. Option C goes down and then back up, so that's been reflected over the y-axis. But option B goes up and then back down. Alright, so I've eliminated option B. That cannot be it. Alright, but of course I now need to narrow it down to the actual answer. I need to narrow it down between A and C. So let's use the B value, the number 3. Okay, so we can use this B value. So the B value, B is equal to 3. Alright, the negative sign is its own thing. We can use this to find the period. So remember that the period is going to equal 2 pi divided by the B value. So that means that the period is going to be 2 pi divided by 3. So another way to look at that is that the period is 2/3 pi. All right, I'm going to look at it this way because I can see pi right here in both graphs. So which one of these graphs has the period that is 2/3 of the way to pi? So here I'm just going to trace. Here's one cycle of the function, one period of this function, right, from corresponding point to corresponding point. Does this seem to be about 2/3 of the way? Well, yeah, it does seem to be about right. It's more than halfway to pi. It seems to be about 2/3 of the way. So far it looks like C is going to be the answer. But before we decide, let's look at option A. So here is one period of this function, all right, from corresponding point to corresponding point. All right, what about this length? Does that seem to be 2/3 of the way? No, this seems to be about maybe halfway, okay, or less. So this does not seem to be about 2/3 of the way to pi. It's not more than halfway. So that's why we're going to go with the answer of C. And now let's go ahead and take a look and check the official answer. And we were correct.